let's talk about a word you probably hear all the time: inflammation. We blame it for pretty much everything, right? Aches, pains, all sorts of health problems. But what is it really? Is it always the bad guy? Well, we're going to dive in and get to the bottom of it. So, this is the big question, isn't it? Is inflammation our body's friend or is it our enemy? And the answer, as you're about to see, is, well, it's kind of both. It's this fascinating story about a built-in defense mechanism that sometimes can really go off the rails. Okay, so at its most basic, inflammation is just your body's immune system doing exactly what it's supposed to do. You can think of it like your own personal security team. The second it senses trouble, say an injury or an infection, it sends in the troops. That's a flood of white blood cells rushing to the area to fight off any invaders and start the healing process. It's a totally normal and absolutely necessary part of staying alive and healthy. So let's start with the friend side of the story, the good guy version. At its best, inflammation is your body's heroic first responder. It's like a controlled fire on your stovetop. You need it, it's fast, and you put it out as soon as the job is done. And this helpful response has a name: acute inflammation. Now, the keywords to remember here are rapid and short term. Think about the last time you got a paper cut, or maybe twisted your ankle, or even just had the flu. That is acute inflammation jumping into action. Your body sounds the alarm, the immune system rushes in, does its thing, and then, after a few hours or maybe a few days, it stands down. Mission accomplished. And I'm willing to bet you're very familiar with these signs. You know, that redness and heat you feel around a cut? That's just more blood flow bringing in all those healing cells. And the swelling? That's fluid building up to cushion and protect the area. Yeah, it can be uncomfortable, for sure, but every single one of these signs means your body is actively and effectively healing itself. But what happens when that helpful fire just doesn't go out? What if, instead of that controlled flame on the stove, it turns into a slow, smoldering fire inside the walls of your house, just silently causing damage year after year? Well, that brings us to the foe in our story. This chart really lays out the difference perfectly. Acute inflammation is short, right? It's caused by a specific thing, like an injury, and its whole purpose is to heal you. Chronic inflammation, on the other hand, is this long-term, low-grade state of alert that just goes on for months or even years. And it's not triggered by a cut. It's triggered by our lifestyle and our environment. And its outcome? It isn't healing, it's damage. So what's feeding these internal flames? Well, a lot of the time, it's just the daily grind of modern life. I'm talking about things like constant stress, not moving our bodies enough, eating a diet that's packed with processed foods, not getting enough good quality sleep, and carrying around excess weight. It all keeps your body in this constant state of low-level alarm, and the immune system just never gets the signal that it's okay to stand down. And here's the thing you have to understand. This is not just a localized problem. Chronic inflammation creates this massive ripple effect that can touch nearly every single system in your body. Let's take a quick look at how that actually works. Let's start with the heart. In our cardiovascular system, inflammation is a huge player in atherosclerosis. That's the hardening of our arteries. It actually helps form those dangerous plaques that can lead to heart attacks, which makes it a major contributor to the #1 cause of death worldwide. And it doesn't stop there, not even close. New research is showing this incredibly powerful link between widespread inflammation and our mental health. It can mess with our central nervous system and has been connected to conditions like depression and that feeling of just constant fatigue. It is a true mind-body connection. And if we move down to our digestive system, a fired-up inflammatory response can be the engine behind really debilitating conditions like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, where the immune system is basically tricked into attacking the lining of the gut itself. And finally, it's a huge factor in autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, where the body turns on its own joints. And there's more and more evidence that it plays a key role in both the start and the progression of diabetes. So you see, the ripple effect is enormous, and it's serious. Okay, I know that was a lot of bad news, but here's the good news. And honestly, this is the most important part. We are not helpless here. Not at all. We can actually fight back. So this is your practical anti-inflammatory action plan. It really all boils down to 3 main lifestyle strategies. I want you to think of these as your personal fire extinguishers. We're going to eat to fight inflammation, we're going to move our bodies, and we're going to learn to manage our stress. It's a simple but incredibly powerful 3-part plan. First up, what you put on your plate is your absolute front line of defense. You want to embrace foods that are famous for fighting inflammation, things like fatty fish rich in omega-3s, dark leafy greens, and all kinds of colorful fresh fruits. In fact, a really great template to follow is the Mediterranean diet. And at the same time, you've got to actively reduce the things that fuel the fire, especially processed foods and all that extra sugar. All right, for our second step, I want you to burn this number into your brain. 150. Now, this isn't just some random number. It is a science-backed target that can make a massive difference in lowering your body's inflammation levels. So what's the 150 for? That stands for 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. And notice, I said moderate. This does not mean you have to go out and become a marathon runner tomorrow. We're talking about stuff like a brisk walk. If you break it down, that's just a little over 20 minutes a day. It's so achievable and it's incredibly effective, not just for inflammation, but for stress too. Which leads us right into our third and final step, managing stress. See, when you're chronically stressed out, your body is just pumping out hormones that keep that inflammation going. So by doing things like yoga, or even just simple deep breathing exercises, or mindfulness, you are actively calming your nervous system. You are literally telling your body's alarm system that everything's okay and it's time to stand down. So when you put it all together, a really clear picture starts to form. While chronic inflammation is definitely a silent and serious threat, the power to manage it is pretty much in our hands. It's all about taking back control through the choices we make every single day. This quote from the research really says it all, doesn't it? It's not about making one huge change. It's about the combined effect of all the small, consistent choices. What you eat, how you move, and how you deal with stress day in and day out. That consistency is the real secret to preventing disease. And that's really what I want to leave you with. Your daily choices are so much more powerful than you probably think. So the only question left is, how are you going to use that power to cool the fire within? Thanks for joining me.